Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Well, welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. As you can see, Winston is out on the road today, and I'll be one of your co-hosts. I'm Stan Kirkland, and let's jump right into things. Today's February 11th. The weather's brought to us by Haney Technical Center. High today will be about 71 degrees, should be right around noon to 1 o'clock. Low 61 degrees. Our water temperature is 63. Water temperature is starting to creep up a little bit. I don't know if the fishermen particularly pay attention to this. Of course, it'll be up into the high 70s before fishing really, mid to high 70s before fishing really increases. We do not have our river readings today, but our rivers still are high. I do know that. Tides are brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn Funeral Home. High tide at 3:41 this afternoon, low tonight at 12:50. Looked at the tide chart. There's really very little difference in the tide between a high tide and a low tide. I think they call that a neap tide. So the moon right now we are we're about a week and a half away from a full moon. I think that's called waxing, if I'm not mistaken, toward a full moon. It'll be around February the 20th when we have that full moon. So that's what your brim fishermen really look for, is that full moon. The marine forecast today, winds south-southeast at about 5 to 10 miles an hour, maybe a little bumpy. 40% chance of rain during the day, and of course the chances really jump up tonight about 80%. So it'll be cloudy this morning, and of course rain showers later today. We're going to take our first break now, but please come back. Well, welcome back, everyone. This gentleman on my left needs no introduction, but Ken Paramore.
Good morning.
Good to see you. Glad you're here.
Glad to be back.
Ken and I usually are joined at the hip when Winston goes out of town and we host the show. And I don't think we've been on the air since the hurricane hit. Where were you and your wife? Did y'all stay at home or did y'all leave?
We were here. Like most people, when we went to bed the night before, it was
right.
Category 2, and I had boarded up the house and got a generator and, had enough essentials
right.
we thought to survive that, So I woke up the next morning, it was just before 4 a.m. to check, and the media is in a panic and they're telling everybody to leave, and the thing is a 4+ or going to be a 4+ before noon, and if you're going to leave, this is your last
right.
chance. And we're looking at each other, what to do. We decided to stay because didn't anticipate that big of a change, and so I made up my mind we're going to.
And you live in Lynn Haven.
Live in Lynn Haven, and we're going to ride it out, and that's what we ended up doing.
Did you have substantial damage?
Well, the roof, of course, everybody lost a roof, and water damage inside, ceiling stains and water. But we were in the closet with our dog.
Wow.
For probably almost 4 hours.
Nobody got hurt?
No, I'd made up my mind. I wish I had a motorcycle helmet or something at the time, but I kind of made up my mind. I'm not going to let this thing kill me unless something caves in on me or hits me, and I'm not going to do anything foolish and go outside or do something stupid.
Wow.
So we hunkered down, as they say. I had the windows boarded up. 2 of them blew off, and I thought it was going to breach, in the house at that time because it was pretty rough. And
wow.
It was blowing so hard out of the north, I couldn't see my neighbor's house across the street. It was a solid white.
Wow.
White
Well, they
house.
said winds were sustained, I think, in the 23rd Street area at 155 miles an hour and gusts higher, and I don't doubt that.
But I can tell you a weird phenomenon that happened to me when we were sitting on the floor, and we looked up in the clothes rack. You could see the clothes moving, fractions of an inch, but you could see the clothes moving, and
Sure.
then all of a sudden, I felt like I was in the mountains. My ears started popping.
Pressure.
The pressure, of course, my wife's didn't, but I said, my ears are starting to pop, and that was that whatever that pressure was. And finally, that subsided, but there was a point there. It was like, this making me feel weird.
Wow.
And then we're just riding it from then on.
Thankfully, you and I think your neighbors, nobody got hurt from what I heard in that area.
Well, some people I knew lost their homes, but
I know it's horrible. How many have lost their homes? I was looking at that this morning on the way down. We evacuated. My wife and I and two of our kids and husbands and grandkids. I think we ended up going up to my mom's in Jackson County. Mom's 92, so I'm not sure she was ready for all of that. But we had a total of 7 dogs, 2 cats, and a rabbit with Mom. And the eye came by. Mom's in Sneads in Jackson County. I came by within about 12, 15 miles. It was rough. We had about 25 trees on her place blow down. And I'll tell you, big shout out to Greg Beecham, who owns and operates Beecham Hardware in Sneads. Greg is a neighbor through the woods, and boy, the next morning, even though our place was covered in trees, no way to get out, Greg comes over there checking on us, bringing a tractor, chainsaws, and I could have hugged his neck. So we were able to start the process at least to get the road cleaned out. There were so many trees down, and I want to share something in just a minute. This is just a little bit, little different than what normally have on the show. But my wife decided she was looking at all the trees down and everything, and you wondered why I brought this. But
I thought that was to keep me in line.
Anyway, no, but it's you take something that blew down, and she decided to make something. From the trees and some of the bits of trees that blew down. So she took something and started out with something just like that. This is a piece of cedar wood, about 1.25 inch piece of cedar wood. And from that, she's now making Christmas decorations. And these are some that she's made in the last few days. One's a snowman and one's a Santa Claus. But she actually carves that, and then she goes and paints that. And of course, she's posted this on Facebook, and she's got more people now wanting them. But it's really incredible. She just decided to do it. I don't know if she's going to take up playing classical piano next or not. But
she hasn't really given up her photography, so.
Well, she has not been making as many photographs lately, but anyway, but I just had to share that. And she's posted it on Facebook, and people now are seeing them and wanting copies, wanting to buy. So I don't know whether she's going to sell them or not, but I just had to share that. So I think we're about to our next break, so we'll take that. Are we there, Mr. Jeff, at our next break? So let's take that, and then we'll be back in just a moment. Well, welcome back, everyone. Ken, we were talking a little bit about the hurricane and where you were, and we shared as well. But have you had a chance to do any hunting this season?
Finally, yes. But
okay.
It wasn't until about second week in January when, number one, getting freed up from all the things that you have to do around the house, but also, that's kind of when the time of year I like the best anyway, because somewhere in there, the rut is supposed to kick in. So I was able to get a deer Tuesday.
This past Tuesday.
Last Tuesday.
Wow, good for you.
And then before that, there was one, a little 8-point. I say little, he was a smaller deer, but he had an 8-point rack. So I've harvested 2 since about mid-January, but seemed to me like the best sign and the best activity that I saw was that week of Martin Luther King holiday. The week prior when it was cold. Lately it seems like unless we get a little second shot, it seemed to be like it was winding up already to me. But
and I don't know whether Yeah, I've talked to a couple of people who deer hunt. I know Linda McNeil that you and I used to work with at FWC. Steve killed an incredible deer.
It was a nice deer.
Very, very nice. So Steve, if you're watching, that's killed an awesome buck. Dennis Palmer shared a photo with me, and I'm not going to say where this was, but it was he may have shared the same photo of you. It was a friend had a tremendous 10 point on his property, and it was a daytime photo that was caught. This deer was caught on a game camera.
They were moving during
and
the day a lot.
it was about 2 weeks ago, and nobody was there. Nobody was hunting that day, but it's probably one of the largest scoring deer that I've seen in the area in a while.
Wow.
It'll score in the 150s, 160s.
That rut is.
Yeah.
Depending on a lot of things, and a lot of people say it's weather, but then the biologists will dispute that. But either way, what affects it from coming in and out, it's a very short window.
Right.
It seems to me, it's a couple week period, and you better get after it when it's there, particularly in your area because it moves around. Right. Then they say there's a secondary one later.
Now, where you hunt, are you having problems with timber being down?
It wasn't too bad up in. Well, it was in Washington County west of 77, but anything east of 77 or even further north up, you know, is just laid down and it's terrible. But ours was doable with some damage, roadblocks and this and that, but not compared to people to the east of there and the east of our, viewing area. Like that 50-mile wide bomb. But I was fortunate. I've harvested too.
Well, good for you.
I'm good. I usually do a couple a year and get some sausage and
there you go.
Some back straps, so I'm happy.
Good deal. Yeah, I really feel for the landowners that are in this area from Jackson County, Gulf County, Calhoun.
It's awful.
Washington a little bit, I think, some, but Jackson County and then going into Georgia because I read there's 2.7 million acres of timber laying on the ground, and that timber, which had a value prior to the storm, now is just greatly reduced. I was talking to one friend. He lost $2 million worth of timber. He's got $2 million worth of timber laying on the ground, and it's essentially
it's no good.
It's worthless because one thing, pine timber, when it's snapped off or falls, it starts to deteriorate. It's a softwood, and it will get a fungus attacks the wood, and so the uses for those woods, you can't make 2x4s, 2x6s, things like that, when you're talking about trees that are broken, fractured, and so, boy, I'm telling you, my heart goes out to people, landowners that are looking at that, dealing with that, and now there's a moratorium on burning. In this affected area. You can't do prescribed burning to start the process to clean up. I think it's limited to burn piles, and you've got to have somebody approved that's been through burn training to do that. So it's going to be a tough spring and tough summer as people recover from this. Ken, you as our chapter president here, most of you probably know Ken and I both are involved with our local chapter, the Bay County Longbeards, the National Wild Turkey Federation chapter. But you recently went to the state meeting and we were recognized again.
Yes, we did.
For
our fourth banquet.
I think that's right, fourth banquet.
We garnered some hardware again.
Wow.
Awards. The state chapter.
Let me hold this one.
NWTF state chapter had our annual awards banquet in Ocala on January the 12th. And at that banquet, the state chapter recognizes the local chapters for the work that they did throughout that year and or at their banquets that we held here back in August. And we came in third place in the state for highest net income for between 150 and 200 members. We achieved a sponsor achievement award and a membership achievement award, which had to do with the numbers of members we recruited and or attended and sponsors. We had more sponsors this past August than we've ever had, which which was a good thing. So,
and we can't, I've said it before on here, we can't thank people enough, the sponsors, because they are the ones that underwrite so much of the cost of our banquet. And we try to, do what we can for the sponsors. We have some gifts for them, that sort of thing. But
we couldn't do it without them.
I'm telling you, it's incredible. So good. I'm glad that you were there, Ken, to be recognized for our chapter. And I know you're on the state board. In a few seconds we've got before the break, any state news or national news?
Well, the national convention, I guess we'll talk about it a little bit more in a few minutes, because it's going to be a little lengthy, but it's coming up a week, well, actually this week, Thursday through, or actually Wednesday through Sunday. This week will be the national convention in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay, all right. All right, we'll do that when we come back, and we've got some other news coming up. So we'll take our next break right now. Welcome back, everyone. Ken, what in addition to the state meeting, what else?
Well, we talked about the convention.
Right.
It's
it's in Nashville.
Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay, coming up.
It's the 43rd annual.
Right.
It's been in Nashville now, I think, probably 15 of those, something like that. Over 55,000 people attended it last year.
Wow.
From Wednesday to Sunday is when it starts Wednesday the 13th, which is the exhibit hall is not open on Wednesday, but kind of really the Thursday kicks it off. There's a welcome party and all that, and then it goes to Sunday.
But and there's vendors there, personalities that we all recognize as you watch Outdoor Channel.
90,000 square foot exhibit hall with over 600 vendors. And it's been sold out. It sells out every year with the vendors. They're from all over the nation. There are celebrities. Michael Waddell is one of them. All the turkey hunting and deer hunting people are usually there. There's dinners, there's seminars, there's a calling contest. It's not just for turkey hunters. There's guide services there. There's deer hunting stuff there. It's really a good time, and it's a good way to spend a few days.
And if you've ever been interested in, or if you're an accomplished turkey hunter or thought about getting into it, it's kind of a once in a lifetime event that you'll want to go. It's on my bucket list. Something I want to do, but every good call makers are there, and if you've ever wanted to pick up a specialty call or a call made by somebody, a lot of these vendors are there. So shifting gears just a minute, I score for Pope and Young. I score all kinds of species of wildlife for Pope and Young, and we're having our annual raffle coming up. There's no banquet or anything, but if you're interested, the first prize this year is a musk ox hunt in the north of Canada. I see Jeff and Ken are both, I can see the anticipation in their face. They'd like to do that. You need, this thing says it's a $19,000 hunt, but that's first place. They say cold weather gear is not provided. I don't know what that costs, but anyway, tickets are $20 for one ticket or $7 for $100 if anybody would like. Second place is actually an elk hunt. It's a 5 or 6 day elk hunt in Montana. One of the recognized outfitters there. Of course, again, it's by bow and arrow. So if you have any interest in that, you can either get a hold of me through the show or through Winston, and I plan to actually buy some tickets, but I'm more interested in the elk hunt than I am muskox. So anyway, it does provide airfare, by the way.
So you got a good, whitetail in Kansas or something.
Well, actually, whitetail is included with the elk. If you don't want to elk hunt, you can go.
Okay.
So anyway,
cool.
And then the other things, they actually have a $1,000 bow, a Yeti, which we've seen before. Anyway, one or two other things real quick. I don't know if you saw the news this past week, but newly elected governor, Florida Governor DeSantis, appointed one of our former commissioners, FWC commissioners, to the South Florida Water Management Board, Mr. Ron Bergeron. Did you ever get a chance to meet him or work with him?
I had a commission meeting, years ago.
Right.
I know DeSantis supposedly cleaned house with some of that board down there. So.
I heard that, and I like our new governor, but Mr. Bergeron was in stature. He's kind of a short guy, but he was he goes by the nickname Alligator Ron, and I heard that the story goes that he was in Washington, had met President Bush. And President Bush asked him where the name Alligator Ron came from, and he told him that he wrestled alligators, apparently had done that in the past. And of course, he's a bull rider. He's a self-made man. I like Mr. Bergeron. But anyway, apparently the president was taken back and wasn't sure if Mr. Bergeron was
telling the truth,
dealing straight with him. But actually, I went to pick up he and Allie, his partner. I went to pick them up to get them to airport, and they told me this was in Apalachicola, and they told me that I would have to wait a while. And I said, "Why is that?" And they said, "Well, she's out running." They said she's going to East Point, so it's like 5 miles to East Point. And I said, "Man, I never want to get in a running competition with that lady." The last thing I want to mention too is our alligator season is not far off. If you like the alligator hunt, you need to go to the FWC's website. They have a date where you can submit your applications, and you can get, for an individual, you can get 2 applications or 2 permits. It's $272, but Florida has one of the most liberal alligator seasons in the country, or in the southeast, short of Louisiana. We're second to Louisiana. But if you've ever been interested in that. So
I'm ready to go fishing.
Yeah, me too. And as the weather, I went actually this past week, but hung one small fish. I'll tell you what I did catch, caught 2 fine red snapper right at Christmas in the bay, trying to catch a grouper before the grouper season went out. Of course, released both fish, but I would not have believed that.
Wow, they're in there.
Yep, and I just simply would not have believed that. But they were, my eyes about bugged out of my head when I saw. Well, listen, folks, we thank you for being with us today, and stay tuned for tomorrow's show.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.